context of that information needs, we obviously have to go about getting that information in multiple ways. But so, I don't disagree with, with anything that's been said. We're all trying to do the right thing. I'm not sure we all know exactly what that looks like at this point because we've never done it before. And, so I'm looking for suggestions, and, we need to take a look at each solution, look at its advantages and disadvantages, and determine, what the best course of action is going to be for the city of Maplewood.
Well, it sounds like, in listening to what everybody said, just based on, the board's experience and then like everything that everybody's brought up, that there's a couple of things in the immediate that we can do, which is to start looking at training opportunities that we can engage in as a group to start learning together. That we definitely have some things that are coming up that we can already apply an equity lens, like Eleanor referenced, in hiring, and be really aware of that while also gathering information. We clearly have a lot of things we want to accomplish, so we just have to commit ourselves to spending the time to do it. And so starting, really digging back into those proposals we got. I know Karen read them. I think she's the only one for the citizen surveys.
I think I forgot what I read, but I
know. It was a long time ago. But just it seems like if we tonight commit to 3 or 4 action steps that we can all take together, that's a great starting point. And visiting that, it sounds like any sort of commission or board, they're just at that point now after years of investing in this process. So now we start it, and then we can keep talking about things like.
I agree. Real quick, we need to do training because if we're not all speaking the same language, it's just not going to make any sense. Number one. Number two, back to the 2 surveys. I'm a huge advocate of experts, and there are experts that give surveys for social justice, and there are experts that give surveys to cities. And I just as soon have those experts do that, and then we can look at the data once we're trained through an effective lens to make sure that we are allocating resources correctly and not leaving anyone behind or oppressing them in any way. So yeah, I'm all for training. I think training's got to be first. We really, as the board members from the school district said, it's important to have the same language and make sure that we actually understand the issues at hand, which are grave, especially in today's world with so much hate and divisiveness. So.
And Eleanor, you seem like you know a lot about the trainings. So, unless anyone else, whatever, I will defer to your sort of resources and knowledge about what you think might be a good place for us to start, because it seems like you have the most information about that of all of us. But
thank you, Eleanor, for sending us all that. I found that very interesting. I wouldn't know which one to pick, though, like Billy just said. So I just want to let you know, I appreciate you giving us these options, but I wouldn't know which one to pick either. So, it would be good.
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, it's good to know which one of these would be the better source of training for us. But, I don't know. Reading what I read, I don't know which one to choose. I would choose.
I think, so based on conversations I've had so far with people, and these same trainings are coming up in several different spheres that I'm in. I think the Crossroads trainings that are in the intro to systemic racism and the cultural competency trainings that are being transferred to a virtual format right now are excellent baseline options that are not too time intensive They are a day each, I think. And they are really great for building shared knowledge and around and shared language. They offer a 2.5-day training called the Analyzing Training that has been widely taken in the St. Louis region. That is, it's a substantially more time commitment. It's a 2.5-day training, and they're not currently offering it in this environment. I think those the one-day options would be great entry points. Ford through Ferguson has some great capacity building options. The systems change primer is, I'm hearing a lot about. There's an application, they are running a special, they're offering that, I think, every month for the next 4 months. The one in July is a special session for legislators for state, local level legislators only. There's an application process. And so based on what information you put in the application, they will select people. So I'm not sure we could all automatically sign on to that one, but people that are interested could apply. But we could all commit to taking one or both of the Crossroads trainings together. They're virtual. There's a cost, but to me, it's a very fair cost for the level and amount of training that they're offering in those.
Eleanor, you had mentioned that the school board was about to schedule something, and then just before COVID. So Katie or Nikki, I don't know if you guys can address, are you still planning something for a community training?
Yes, we talked about that, and I believe we're looking at next year just because we are focused on re-entry into our buildings. So that's still on the table, but not this year.
Okay, thanks.
And was that the 2.5-day training with Crossroads?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a fantastic training. I highly recommend it. And when the conditions allow and our community is ready, I think it would be exciting for people, for people across our whole community to be able to do that together.
And that was our intent. We were going to invite council members as well as community members, business leaders, but with the need for social distancing, we decided that we needed to put that off. So that's still our plan, but I think we're looking at 2021.
So, all right, so the Crossroads training, good place to start. And then I'm assuming that we should still look at a consultant like Gladiator, which really pulls everyone through this process as well. Yeah, I guess Anthony, where is Anthony still on?
Yeah, he's
He's not on video right now.
no, he's not.
I see.
He can hear you. He can communicate through my.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be. I mean, I know that the mayor got that information from Gladiator, but I'm sure there's a few other consulting companies.
Oh yeah.
I know a couple people as well, like Amy Hunter, who would be awesome to have around to help us through some of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, if we could get even just a list compiled and just maybe even put out a RFP or whatever, or RFQ or RFP actually to help us guide us through this, I think that would be ideal because I am no expert in social justice, but I want to learn. So,
It almost has to be an RFQ because the proposal is, the scope of work that we're talking about. I think for the most part, someone's going to lead us through that process. But yeah, the proposal will be not a standard proposal that we're used to getting for a retaining wall.
Right.
Yeah.
it'll be a journey. Can we do a request for journey?
Yeah.
RFJ?
Is Anthony, Anthony, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Could you remind us where we are in the timeline for the phase 2 of with Slavin Consultants for the city manager hiring process?
I have not received any recent documentation from Mr. Slavin. It's probably been about 2 weeks since I've got the last information. Barry, have you received anything else from him?
No.
I
When
thought
did
the
we
community-
initiate the recruitment phase? Was that like May 15th or May 20 something?
We postponed it until probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then we told them to start that process, and we sent them the final council comments on the
Profile thing.
on the
And-
profile. And
in
there
his
was,
email- yeah, sorry.
no, it was probably maybe 3 or 4 comments, so that should have taken no time at all. And I said at this point, move forward with the process.
In his email, I thought that was attached to when he sent it, said they would
Yeah,
He said-
through July 15th, and then we would, I understood then probably after that, we would get something from him.
Well, I'll talk to Bob and get a revised timeline and let him know that, we're talking about it so that it appears more than a blip on the radar screen.
Yeah,
But yeah,
he says in his email, the first review of resumes will take place on July 10th.
okay.
And then
Yeah.
back to
That was
this,
May 29th or May 25th. That was after our last deal.
and then maybe to hold ourselves accountable on this piece, I think it'd be great to put this on the agenda at least one meeting a month so that we can check in and see, where we are and what we're going to do next. I think that's the easiest way to hold ourselves accountable to the process. Everyone agrees.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm with you.
And so are we agreeing that we will commit to some of the Crossroads trainings?
It seems to make sense to start with that one, whichever I think,
I can,
most sort of best way to enter the topic
okay.
and get the information, and then we can figure out if we can all, because I assume we do it all together, correct?
They're better if you have an organizational unit to do
Right.
together.
So that'll take some, we'll have to figure out a time we can all do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that one thing that's nice right now is that they have some times that you can just plug into. You can also contract with them to set up your own, but
Okay.
there are existing days of, it's like this one is on this date, this one is on this date, and you can just sign up. So less choice of dates, but easy because it's there and people can sign up. So if it works for, 3 or 4 of us, some people could sign up. We could talk to them about what other date options there are. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, I volunteer you to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I can call
I
and
know
find
you're
out other
busy, so
dates.
Get out. No, I
I
mean,
mean, is it on it may be on their website. I mean,
The existing dates are on the website I sent you, but we can also call to find out what other possible dates are.
okay.
I thought I saw some dates in October, like October 15th to 17th, I think under Crossroads. I think that's what I saw. But I don't know if there's any before that or not. I didn't see.
I think their virtual ones are July
Oh,
sooner.
okay.
when I saw. Yeah, I'd be hip.
Um,
Sure. I'm not going anywhere.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well, what I'm wondering is, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. And, the main idea tonight was to introduce the topic and talk about how we're going to get started with it. I don't think we're going to resolve everything tonight, but let me turn mine down a little bit and see if that helps.
Sounds like we need to get it first. Yeah.
I think it's a good start. We know that there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of people that have started the process that we can talk to. We can learn a lot from the school board. I would like to move fairly quickly, but I don't know how quickly things can move. It's been a couple hundred years that this problem has festered, and I don't think we're going to solve it overnight. But
Times two.
the sooner we start addressing these issues, the faster we're going to achieve the results that we're looking for, or at least get closer to the results, because it's pretty depressing what's going on out there. And we're very fortunate to have a community that's diverse, that's open, that's caring. And, so I think that, obviously we need to do our job, but we also, I think we have a lot of, resources with our citizens. And we also need to start looking at who we might want to have serve on this board, this entity, whatever we want to call it, so that, and maybe it would be helpful for not only council, but, those board or commission or council or, advisory board members might participate in some of these, processes along with us. So I would challenge everyone to come up with some names of people that they feel would be beneficial to our effort, and start talking with them.
so I wonder if we should back up still, and if we think that we want, setting up an equity advisory council is like a specific action. And I wonder if we need to go through a little bit more to decide if that's what we want to do and what it would look like. So I wonder if while we are starting training, do we want to explore a parallel process of an RFP for services to, for something that to me, the proposal we got from Gladiator, the meetings are, to me, the meetings, those would happen, and the equity advisory something or charge to our own body are something that would come out of this process. So I guess I'm still not, so to be concise, it feels like naming people to a particular, or thinking about naming people to a particular body is still a little, we're not quite there yet. And I'm unsure if everybody is interested in working on an RFP for services so that we would have something to talk about at the next meeting, or if we feel like we're still not ready for that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we need to appoint anyone anytime soon, but I want to get people interested. In my 17 years on council, nothing happens quickly, and you really have to put it out there to, we've been talking about these board and commission appointments, and the resumes are just not pouring in.
Well, we also still haven't advertised our board and commission slots.
And I will say, we still have 32 attendees
Yeah.
on right now. So and they made it through 2 hours to this point. I guess they're probably pretty interested in this. So I don't think we'll have problem identifying people who want to participate. I'm sort of with Eleanor in that I think it's hard to think about who you might want to serve on something that you're not quite sure what it's going to look like yet or what it's charged with. So I feel like I don't want to overwhelm us too much in the beginning because then we'll lose sight of like the steps we're trying to take. And I did want to clarify though, with Hessel, I tried to look through like boards and commissions, and it seems like we can sort of set up a board or commission to look like what we want it to. Are there any specific rules, or is it just however we create it?
However you create it. It's up to the
Okay.
council to create a commission, a board, whatever terminology you want to use, and you have broad discretion in establishing membership and establishing the duties, powers, and authorities.
Okay.
Obviously, you got to look and make sure there's no overlap between other commissions.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. That's what I thought. So good to know as we move forward that we can sort of design.
So,
I think to reiterate is something that sounds like we're all kind of saying is that in addition to doing the training and getting the training accomplished in the short term, we also want to initiate the request for proposals or information or whatever it is about a consultant.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
so, as I said, we have a bunch of tasks to do. It's not like there's a straight line process here. So, the main thing is to get the process started, and I think we've done that. And I think we need to continue to have these discussions. And we also, my guess is we're going to be contacted by a lot of our citizens that have, listened to us tonight. And we also do have a public forum yet to come. So why don't we move on right now? And then my guess is that we'll probably be hearing from a few people after the city manager's report.
Can I just say thank you very much for allowing us to present this evening and just being open and willing to listening to us. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that said, I'd like to move on to item number 21, which is a council communication. Do we have any?
I do.
communication?
Sorry. I know
Go ahead.
it's 2 hours and I'll be quick, but I had something brought to my attention by a couple of constituents, and it's some really, really disturbingly outdated language in one of our ordinances on how it defines a head of household. It's in our weeds ordinance, and it both assumes that a two-parent family, like the husband is the head of household, and then also assumes that a family, two-parent family is a heterosexual couple. So I wanted to talk to you guys and see if you would be interested in tasking Attorney Hessel with finding us some more updated language that's not so misogynistic.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's section 54-57, Article 3. It's from 1982.
Sounds like 52.
Yes, yes. So thank you.
Okay. Have you gone through the whole, or all the ordinances to see if there's any other instances?
I used the search function on the ordinances and assuming it was right. I mean, it brought this up, and that's the only ordinance that brought it up in. So hopefully that's true.
Okay. Well, if anyone else is, out there of the 30 people or so wants to read the ordinance and let us know, they can help us with our proofreading. Are there other council communications? If not, we'll move on to the mayor's report. I want to let everyone know that tomorrow from 9 to 11, I will be at the tent at Marshall and Manchester with the police chief and and I believe members of the police department to answer questions that citizens have regarding police policies and procedures. We're also going to be holding a Zoom meeting on July 8th from 6 to 8. There's 2 more sessions planned for July 22nd, tentatively from 2 to 4 at a location to be determined. And the same for August 26th would be an evening meeting at, from 5 to 7. So the director of community development, the police chief have been proactive in trying to arrange these meetings so that people can get information, ask questions. I'm getting quite a few questions. I'm trying to address them myself, but I would prefer that the police department answer those directly. So that is my report. The next item is the city attorney's report.
I have nothing to report, Mayor and Council.
Next item is the city manager's report.
Just to let everybody know that I just got an email from Janine Beck from the Chamber of Commerce, and they have a summer concert series at Ryan Hummer Park, dates scheduled for July 22nd, August 26th, September 23rd. And they did submit their plan to St. Louis County just to make sure that they follow, and they're following all the proper social distancing for these, if anyone's asks. But the first one will be July 22nd, and that's all I have.
Okay. And now we're back to the public forum, and Sean, you've got control.
I suppose, yes, we have one. Anne Louise Schmidt. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
All right, she should be. Anne, can you hear us? Anne Louise Schmidt, can you hear us? You're still muted.
I think she's still muted.
I mute myself. It took me a second to understand.
No problem.
Too. Hi guys. My husband has lived in Maplewood for over 35 years. I've lived in Maplewood for 17, and we have 2 adopted Black children. So we are very eager to talk about what's going on, which is the issue of Black Lives Matter, which is so much tied into equity. Of course, it's not the only piece of equity, but it's the huge part that's happening in the nation right now, and actually in the world. And I was really struck by the differences between listening to the part about Sonnen, who has a complex where it has everything everybody needs, and then they can pop on the Metrolink, and they can be young professionals really bringing in money to Maplewood, but not necessarily participating in Maplewood. And then after that was the school board meeting. Not that that's everyone who lives in Sonnen, I'm kind of making a generalization. But then right after that was the school board meeting of really working to care for everyone who lives in Maplewood. And I love the difference of the feel of school board really working to care. I just want to comment to how important this is to our family that we do equity work in Maplewood. I'm glad to see you guys starting to make a plan, and I think the training is great. I know Eleanor has shared a good bit at different venues. I've heard her talk about different trainings, and I feel like she has experienced them all in a way, and she can speak to which is the best way to go. So I really trust Eleanor in that. And I really want to encourage you to find Black members of the community who are willing to be a part of the equity discussion and plan as you go forward. And I want to thank you for being willing to get into the long haul of dealing with equity when it's messy and people don't always agree and there's a lot of different opinions. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Nikki Rainey.
Okay.
One sec here. Okay. I'll do this. All right, Nikki, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks for listening. Like Anne Louise, I have a mixed race family here in Maplewood, and racial justice issues are really dear to me. I'm really inspired hearing you guys talking about taking training and taking action and gathering data. I want to really encourage you, as you're doing this work, to remember that this moment that we're in right now is powerful. You know, we're in like a civil rights movement. I mean, this is like the 60s. Like I keep thinking about the Martin Luther King quote, "The fierce urgency of now." That feels really, that's something I learned in high school history class, but I feel that right now, right? Like this is the fierce urgency of now, of our lifetime. And so we're here, you know, we have this amazing opportunity to make dramatic change, to make the world better for Anne Louise's 2 Black children and, you know, my 1 brown child. And I just encourage you, as you're like sort of making these plans and looking for data, not be so tentative and not like have to feel like everything, like you have like not to wait to take action if something feels right. So we have data now, you know, we have the vehicle stop report. We know that people of color are being pulled over at a much higher rate than white people. I mean, we know that Black people have been leaving our community in the last 10 years. It's, you know, we don't have to do a survey to learn some of those things. We can sort of start acting on it now. You know, we can find out who's being imprisoned for traffic tickets in our community and what their race is. You know, you could probably find that out really fast. So thank you for listening. I'm really excited about what's going to happen next, and I'm really grateful looking at all of your faces that you're in this community with me and that you're representing me. And I'm here for all of you guys, and I'm excited to see what will happen next.
Great. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have anyone else queued up there, Sean?
Yeah, I have Dessa Summerside. Hold on one sec. All right, Dessa, can you hear us?
I can. Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Dessa Summerside-Shukaro. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the Sunin proposal and what I have experienced getting to know some of my neighbors, even in the past 3 months. I'm really concerned about affordable housing in Maplewood, and I know it's a big concern of a lot of our neighbors, just through the work that we've done with Maplegood and getting to know those neighbors of ours and hearing their concerns. I've talked to 3 individuals that live in the apartments on Anna, and they have told me in the past 12 months, the rent has gone up $100. In the past month, the rent went up $50. They're getting pushed out of the apartments because the plans of the apartment owners are to renovate the apartments to then rent them for $800+ for a 1-bedroom. And unfortunately, these residents of Maplewood have to leave, and they don't want to leave. They love Maplewood. They love how walkable it is, how they can easily access public transportation. They've lived here for many years. They have a community here. One of the residents was telling me, you know, she uses the blessing box. She gives when she can and she takes when she needs to. And these are the community members that I want to see stay. And I know it's not directly related to Sunin, but it does play a part in talking about affordable housing here. And it also talks about the work that you guys have agreed to do around equity and talking about the role that equity plays in affordable housing in Maplewood. So I just wanted to bring that up. I think a lot of you all know that affordable housing is important, but I just wanted to reiterate. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have one more hand up.
Okay.
Oh, Carla. Hold on one sec.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Carla.
This is Carla DeRoos. I was just going to comment since the topic of boards and commissions came up, and just in terms of equity on those boards and commissions, I attend a vast majority of the city council meetings, and I feel like I have a decent understanding of the boards and commissions process. But in talking with neighbors, I've found that not many of our neighbors have a clear understanding. And honestly, in talking with them, I feel like my understanding of it becomes less transparent, in that I know several of them have told me that they have submitted their resume and then never heard anything back, or you know, and it may have just been over the years. So I'm wondering if we can get a very clear written explanation of that put out. I know that there was a boards and commissions site going up, so I'm just wondering if we can get a very like bullet pointed, numbered, whatever, just a very clear picture of what that looks like, so that all of our neighbors have easy access to it, so that we can get a more equitable, a more diverse group into our boards and commissions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more. We have Amber Withcom. I probably didn't pronounce it right, but Amber, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly sort of reaffirm what Carla has mentioned previously about the importance of making that process of identifying and selecting committee members to be as transparent as possible. I also would like to posit that requesting a resume could potentially be a barrier. We know from workforce development that that is not always the best way to recruit candidates. And I think in the interest of making this process as inclusive as possible, I'd like the council to really consider what's being requested, and also really clarifying what is being needed in terms of identifying these candidates, what the council's looking for when identifying participation for those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I think at this point, that's it.
Okay. So the public forum, the second public forum is now closed. Is there a need to hold a closed session?
No.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment then.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Are we, is it possible to hold a closed session if we want to discuss the Sunin proposal? Or did that need to be on an agenda earlier?
It needs to be set up beforehand.
Via Zoom is the problem, Eleanor. We did not set up a closed session.
Yeah, we need
Do you know how to set up? Can we set up a session?
can we do it at another time? I mean, I
You
didn't.
can.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, typically executive sessions, one, they're not recorded, and two, the agenda was already approved as it was. So.
Right. Yeah. Last time we set up a separate Zoom session, so I was asking if that's possible to do now. But
Is there a notice
we can do it
requirement, John? There's a notice.
for a closed session, there's a notice requirement?
And we do have a notice in the agenda itself that we routinely put up, but technically under the Sunshine Law, you really need a more specific notice as to what the purpose of the closed meeting is supposed to be. In other words, to consult with the attorney, negotiate contracts and things of that nature. So I always advise clients not to rely upon that broad notice unless it's clearly an emergency situation. So that the notice can go out so all the public knows that we're going to go into a closed session for a particular reason. And that has to be done 24 hours in advance.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.